quick concepts for my Advanced Math 2 students. We are going to be working with angular velocity today. Just a little bit of a review. This is first taught in lesson 53 of your Saxon Advanced Math book. And so we are going to be on page 354. There's a little bit of a review of unit multipliers, but you can go and look back in Algebra 2 or Advanced Math 1 for those if you need some of that. So first of all, we need to know the formula for angular velocity versus linear velocity. So if we were looking for linear velocity, which is v, we would say r times w. Now w is your angular velocity. R is your radius, and this is your linear velocity. So what we're talking about is the speed something turns with, or something goes in a circle with. So think of like a wheel rotating. That's what we're talking about, how fast it's turning. So let's just run through a couple of examples. So it says a wheel of a wagon has a radius of 14 inches and is revolving at 40 revolutions per minute. How fast is the wagon moving in miles per hour? So we're looking for linear velocity. It tells us that the radius of the wagon is 14 inches. And then it tells us that the angular velocity is going to be 40 revolutions per minute. So it seems pretty easy, but where people mess up on is really the converting to get this to work out. Now we want it in miles per hour, so I want to try to change inches to miles. That's what I'm going to do first. So I know that there are 12 inches in 1 foot, and I know that there's 5,280 feet in 1 mile. So hopefully I don't have to explain why I put things on the bottom, but I will. You want these to cancel out. And now you can see we have miles. Well, now I have to get to hours. So we're on minutes on the bottom, so I know that there are 60 minutes in 1 hour. Now you might ask yourself, what about revolutions? Where does that go? Okay, so with revolutions, really what happens is we just have to turn it into radians. So once we turn it into radians, then it gets absorbed. Radians is what we call a unit list, how would I say it? A unit list dimension. It's because it has pi in it, and pi is just like this ever increasing thing. It doesn't have it doesn't have a label to it. It gets what I call absorbed. So we need to know that for 1 revolution, you have 2 pi radians. Now, to be honest, you don't even have to write the word radians. I'm just putting it there so you understand 1 revolution is equal to 2 pi. Because this just cancels out. Now, you do have to count the 2 pi. You have to multiply that. So the way you're going to do this is you're going to put this into your calculator, and you're going to say 14 times 40 times 60 times 2 times pi divided by 12 divided by 5,280. Now, I like to tell people that just because a lot of times people don't know how to put things into their calculator, and whenever it falls underneath this line, you hit the division key right before it. So if I did this, so I'm going to grab my calculator and I'm going to put it through, and you try it too, because you want to make sure that you're putting it in correctly. So it's 14 times 40 times 60 times 2 times pi divided by 12 divided by 5,280. So our answer is actually 3.33 miles per hour. Okay, so be careful with those. So let's do another one. Let's do one where we're not solving for linear velocity. So this is example 53.3 on page 355 in your book. It says an automobile whose wheels are 30 inches. So right away I see my radius is going to be that's my diameter. Oops, 30 inches. So your radius is 15. You got to be careful. I almost wrote it down wrong. It's traveling at 40 miles per hour. There's my linear velocity. That's a V, not an R. That's an R. What is the angular velocity? So you're going to take this equation, but we're going to solve for the omega, which is the angular velocity. So W is equal to V over R. So this is going to be 40. Now be careful. This is weird. Over 15 inches. So try to think of it like this. If I were going to bring this up and flip it to the top, it would be 1 over 15 inches. So really, I'm starting out with 40 miles over 15 inches times hours. Okay, so be careful with that. It really confuses people when they see it. So what do they want? They want revolutions per second. So the first thing I'll do, the easiest thing, is to change 1 hour, 3,600 seconds. Okay, so at least I'm in seconds now. But I want revolutions, which, guys, we know is kind of a unitless. So what's going to happen? Well, watch what I do. I'm going to make miles and inches cancel out. In 1 mile, there's 5,280 feet. Okay, now I'm going to come down here. In 1 foot, there's 12 inches. Well, think about it. That's going to cancel out. And guess what? That's going to cancel out. So if we put this into a calculator, we're left with pretty much nothing on top, which becomes our revolutions per second. So in the calculator would go 40 times 5,280 times 12 divided by 15 divided by 3,600. And our answer would be 46.9 revolutions per second. And that is it on angular velocity.